Dr. Stephen Marmer is a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA Medical School, been for years, and he is in private practice. My last question to you, I had no idea what you would answer, because you have such excellent ideas about people helping themselves, which is, of course, why we have you on the Happiness Hour. And your answer, to my question, what's your batting average with your patients? About 75%. You don't even have to comment. You're certainly free to. I can't believe that the average therapist is 75% batting average. So many people whom I hear from or see or hear about got worse in many instances at their therapists. They got more, and I'll be very specific. They saw themselves more as a victim in therapy. Any comments?
That's exactly the fulcrum point. That's why it was on my list. Until you get the individual to agree that at least to some extent they are the architect of their own misery, and therefore they have the power to change it, you're not going to get anywhere. If you stay as a victim, you're helpless, and the whole situation is helpless, and so why bother? Only if you are willing to say, yes, I was responsible for some of my own happiness, but then vested in me is the power to do it, the power to change it.
Right. So what has happened, if anything, maybe it was always a problem in the therapeutic world, what has happened that they now reinforce victimhood?
It's been a culture shift in the entire culture, but especially in mental health, that to emphasize the victimhood of the patient and the overwhelming bad influence of the previous generation or society or one or another of 100 isms. And they've, with the idea that you mustn't blame the victim. Well, I take exactly the opposite approach, as I just said. If you don't think that you have leverage over your life, and if you don't think that you're responsible in your reactions for causing some of your own misery, then who are you going to look to change?
This is a spontaneous question, and maybe a silly one. Do patients ever get angry with you?
Yeah, sometimes.
And is it over this issue?
Frequently. Or sometimes it's because they think I didn't understand them properly, or I'm not crediting them. I'm not saying, oh, you poor thing, enough.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there a difference in patients by age? Is it more likely that people at 40 think they're victims than at 75?
That's complicated because you're asking, do people change over the course of life, and as they get older,
I'm really
do they,
thinking more,
or is it
generational?
Yeah, yes, it's generational. Patients who were born in the 40s and 50s and 60s are more likely to feel guilty and responsible for things, and people who were born in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are more likely to feel gypped that they don't start out as the senior vice president in their first job.
Yeah, that's what I thought.